Welcome to the Cybersecurity Whisperer for the week of November 3rd. Well, for those in the United States, this is the Super Tuesday, is the presidential election. And I'm sure your phone has been like mine, blowing up with political text messages. You would think you signed up for, all those block lists or, had your number, the do not call list. It doesn't work. But it kind of dates myself back many years ago when spam first came out. Folks would teach you not to click the unsubscribe button and not to reply stop to the message. Well, it turns out the same thing is true for these text messages, these robo-texts. If there was a political reporter that actually replied stop, and then after she replied stop, got the instant verification message that person, that campaign or that number had stopped, and then by the end of the day had 100 new ones from different numbers. So that just let the marketing folks know that, hey, this is a real person. We better, reach out to them. And so if you want to stop those text messages, first you need to stop texting back stop. You need to click the report as junk button on your phone, and that will report back to your carrier that message, that number is a spammer. And then, so they might apply filters at the carrier level. And then third, get a text spam filter. All the carriers have free ones you can download from the App Store. There's also ones for pay out there that you can purchase a couple of dollars a month that will filter the spam text messages and put them straight into your junk folder, just like email. Speaking of the elections, it came out this week that a Colorado voting system passwords were posted to the Secretary of State's website. It was a spreadsheet containing passwords for Colorado's voting systems. They were on a publicly accessible website for several months, and on a hidden tab on a spreadsheet. And so this was just discovered this Tuesday. And they, somebody downloaded the spreadsheet file from the website and discovered that you could, just like Excel, when you right click and click unhide, that it showed this tab. And these passwords were used to configure voting machine system settings. The Colorado Secretary of State said on Tuesday that the spreadsheet containing the passwords had been on the website for months, and that she was only made aware of it last week, and that they have gone and supposedly changed all of those passwords on the different voting systems. But another article that came out this week said, speaking of passwords, that IT professionals, they have bad password habits too. 26% of security leaders say they keep track of their own passwords by writing them down or using a spreadsheet. Don't do this. Don't let yourself do this. Your family, your friends, use a password manager. Go out. There are some that are free. Look, it's even built into the new iOS on your Apple phones, your iPhones. But use a password manager that changes all your passwords, sets them to random 30, 40, 50, 60 character passwords. Don't put them in a spreadsheet. They can be easily found. In these password managers, there's OnePass, LastPass, Dashlane, Keeper. Go out and use one of these. That, again, is usually free for one device. You might have to pay if you want it on multiple devices or to share it with your friends and family, but it's well worth it. This week, there was a fired employee who hacked Disney World's menu system. So this was a disgruntled former Disney employee that hacked into a third-party menu creation software used by Walt Disney World's restaurants and changed allergy information on menus to say that foods that had peanuts in them were safe for people with peanut allergies. They added profanity to the menus, and at one point, they even changed all the fonts to wingdings. The suspect broke into a proprietary menu creation and inventory system that was developed by a third party exclusively for Disney and is used to print menus for its restaurants. And he did this soon after being fired by Disney using passwords that he still had access to on several different systems. And so once inside the systems, he altered menus and in one case broke the software for several weeks. And so thankfully this was caught. The menus were printed, but before they were distributed to the restaurants, this was caught. And so hopefully no one that had a peanut allergy, which can be, deadly, no one was harmed by this. But it goes to the point of turning off employees' access quickly, especially if it's an involuntary termination. But really across the board, it's such a hard thing to do, or we wouldn't be sitting here talking about it. But trying to force all of your systems onto single sign-on, which I know a lot of people don't like, because then that's one single target to go after. But at least from a termination standpoint, if they're terminated in the human resource system, then they can automatically terminate the single sign-on, and it would terminate all the applications instead of having to go through an asset management system, a CMDB or something, and looking for every single third-party or SaaS-based system that employee had access to, and logging in or contacting those system owners to then log in and turn that access off. So certainly easier said than done. Now, turning to the human element of security and how security leaders can turn around low-performing employees. Think about security teams. We're always on red alert, constantly thinking about what could go wrong, what the next threat might be, and when they might strike. I mean, this can take its toll on employees, and for those already struggling, the pressure can just become unbearable. Again, the job's full of complexity, ambiguity, and it's constantly changing, which results in a state of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, and this is exhausting for cybersecurity professionals. But many CISOs notice team members slipping on deadlines or seeming less engaged. Employees who once took the lead on projects or contributed actively, they may start to withdraw and avoid responsibilities, while new hires might find it difficult to integrate into the fast-paced environment of security. And so what do you do? Well, there was a study that found that underperforming employees often feel overwhelmed. They don't have a clear strategy to reach their goals. They might be in the wrong role or simply aren't getting enough support from their managers. And it's not a quick fix to just terminate somebody, because replacing an underperforming employee can cost anywhere from 30 to 200% of their salary. So it just makes financial sense to try and help them get back on track. Instead of rushing to hire someone new, security leaders, and really all managers, should focus on giving these employees the right support, coaching, guidance. Often with just a little attention and clear direction, these underperformers can regain their motivation and their confidence to start contributing again. So we need to know what is behind the low performance as much as they're willing to share. Sometimes it's personal, but support their mental health and their professional growth. We need to empower the employees and show them they are valued. Create a safe space where they feel comfortable sharing their challenges openly. Foster trust and encourage honest, productive dialogue, which helps them, of course, feel valued and paves the way for more effective problem solving. Our language matters. If we want to, encourage these struggling employees to open up, we've got to lead by example and share our challenges. We've got to be vulnerable and transparent and really set the tone and show that it's safe to discuss these difficulties. We've got to create a trusting environment. So, we think about micromanaging. If you're constantly measuring someone's performance, that might look like a good solution, but it creates unnecessary pressure and anxiety. It makes employees feel like they're constantly under a microscope. And something that we really struggle with is celebrating the team's milestones. I mean, it really helps every now and then, especially struggling employees, if we reflect on how far they've come and we celebrate the moment. Just recognizing even small achievements can boost morale and provide a sense of accomplishment. And it helps shift focus from what's still left to achieve to the progress it's already made. And finally, even after sometimes when you do all that, you do have to let go of an employee. And so you've got to know when to let go. Even when doing their best, things just don't get better. And so, it's if that's the right thing to do, then you've got to know that after you've tried everything, you've put them on a performance plan, you've come alongside, you've encouraged them, you've coached them. Sometimes you do just have to let them go. Now, this week, the FBI warned that Gmail, Outlook, AOL, Yahoo, and others are those accounts are being compromised even when you have multi-factor turned on. And so they... the attacks begin when the users are lured into visiting suspicious websites or clicking on phishing links that download malicious software onto their computer, and then the actual hack occurs by the way of cookie theft. So these are the Remember Me cookies. When you go to certain sites and there's that box that says only click this if you're on a private computer to remember me, so you won't have to log in as much or you won't have to use multi-factor. Well, the bad guys then they store the credentials to stop you from having to log in every time you visit the website, and then the bad guys are able to replay those cookies, and they're able to log in to sites then without your password or your multi-factor. So you need to be clearing your cookies and not clicking the button that says to remember you, especially if you're using a password manager. Now this week, United Health, obviously the massive ransomware, months. Some doctors' offices closed completely because they weren't getting their reimbursements through United Health. Well, after 8 months after the attack, United Health Group has named a new CISO. They appointed Tim McKnight to CISO, making a change in the company's security leadership. And he replaces Steve Martin, who became CISO in May of 23, just 9 months before the ransomware attack. As part of the change, Martin wasn't fired, but he was shifted to a new role as Chief Restoration Officer. So they've got a lot of work to do to restore the confidence in the company and the trust after this event. And so that's, remember earlier this month, United Group confirmed the attack, which involved compromised credentials to a remote access Citrix portal, compromising the data on at least 100 million people, the largest healthcare data breach ever reported to the federal government. And the attack hinged on consequential mistake the healthcare giant made in failing to protect critical systems because it did not turn on any multi-factor authentication. Also speaking with changes at companies, MoneyGram, which many of you are probably familiar with MoneyGram, with different payments and such that they funnel through them. Well, they replaced their CEO this week after they had a huge cyber event. So instead of replacing the CISO, they replaced the CEO. They've named Anthony Sohu to the money transfer company's CEO post, replacing Alex Holmes, effective immediately. He was an executive vice president for retail behemoth Walmart's home division until January of last year. He had previously held top roles at CBS and Yahoo, as well as a management role at Apple early in his career. They said MoneyGram is at a pivotal moment in its journey to make secure and reliable financial services accessible for more customers across the globe. And Anthony is the right leader with the unique expertise needed to oversee the company's next chapter. So very interesting turn of events there. Now, a lot of us use LinkedIn every day. It's a great source of business information, and they were sued and accused of tracking users' health info. They're facing several proposed class action lawsuits filed in recent weeks in California, alleging that the company is intercepting users' sensitive information related to appointments booked on medical websites through the use of embedded web tracking tools for marketing and advertising purposes. So the lawsuits was filed by plaintiffs and similarly situated individuals who made medical appointments at one of three healthcare-related websites: Spring Fertility Holdings, a fertility clinic that operates in several states; Therapy Match, which is a mental health therapy website that does business as Headway; and Village Practice Management, which is an urgent healthcare provider known as CityMD. They said that the complaint alleges that LinkedIn, through the use of its web tracking software, which is called LinkedIn Insight Tag, is on various medical care services providers' websites, and claiming that they knew that it intercepted users' interactions. And Meta and Spring Fertility are also named co-defendants in the lawsuit. Spring Fertility aided, employed, and agreed and conspired with social media websites Facebook and LinkedIn to intercept sensitive and confidential data and medical communications sent by patients seeking to boost services with Spring Fertility through its website. That's what the lawsuit alleges. This was a serious invasion of privacy, divulging deeply personal aspects of an individual's life, and the interception of communications and booking information was particularly egregious because it included highly sensitive details such as the specific type of fertility treatment sought and the patient's sexual orientation, all without the patient's knowledge or consent. So we will see what comes from that. With that, that's all for the week. Hope you're doing well. Again, reach out with any questions you might have. Hit me up on LinkedIn, and we hope to talk